Hi, I'm BZ Rieger, and it's April 15th, 2020. And I'm doing another in my series of choosing fear or knowing. And this one's kind of been noodling around for a while, but it occurred to me, um, actually, really in a delightful way, that the unseen enemy is forced the world to see the truth, to force the world to fully leap into um, ripping off the veil and ripping off those blindfolds um, and I don't think that was I don't think that was part of their plan. I don't think they thought that far ahead. I don't think, well, they just didn't have a sense that what could possibly go wrong. I mean, of course everything would unfold just the way they wanted to. So why hasn't it? And what are they forcing the world to see? And what's coming out? Um, those are questions that are helpful to play with, to notice the question first, notice how that question feels within you, um, and then how do you play with it? So the first part is, why did things not unfold the way that they thought it would? I mean, they'd orchestrated this master plan. You release this virus and it has different connections to, it's a bioweapon, and it has different connections to other parts of their plan, because everything is connected, if you haven't figured that out yet. um, and so it wasn't just the standalone COVID-19, it was other parts to it that have to do with other things unfolding in their plan, to, in a sense, devastate each being's infrastructure, each being's immune system, each being's will, each being's sovereignty, both on the physical, linear, and the energetic and frequency being, which is really what we are. And that's part of the truth that they are forcing everybody to see. So my sense, my knowing of why that didn't work is because source is rising in all, in every blade of grass, and every human being, and every being on the planet, absolutely Gaia. And um, that's all leading to a certain energy frequency, and it's leading to a certain exponential expansion of consciousness. um, no matter what structure, no matter what form of vessel, so to say, is holding that consciousness. And with that, um, it just isn't turning out the way they thought. It can't. It's actually riding on that expansive frequency, and that hyper accelerated expansive frequency. Um, and it can only jump to a larger quantum multiplier of itself in the expansive vein, because that's where we are. That's the energy frequencies that we're in, and moving forward into more and more and more of. Um, so another question to notice, to play with, is, well, why is that forcing people to see what's really going on, to see the truth of who they are, to see the truth of what's unfolding? Because they lit the fuse. They started the whole, their final play of their cards rolling. And with the way that the energies are it's like something that they designed goes forward. And since it can only go forward in a way that's inexpansive, and in a more expansive consciousness, and a more unfolding of an open heartedness, so whatever plan, whatever part of that plan, whatever action reaction that they had devised, does have an action and a reaction. It does have a result from that. It does have another thing that unfolds and unfolds and unfolds and unfolds, but it's all going in, if it's not an accurate hand motion, but it's all going in an upward, expansive, ever increasing consciousness spiral. In its the next event, the next unfolding, the next results, the next ramifications, however you want to hold it, come out from that. And because of that, it's almost, I see it as this, and I experience it as this wonderful dance between constriction and the opposite of that, and the open-heartedness. So the populations around the globe are being constricted because of this thing. They thought everything was hunky-dory. They thought their normal was just perfect. And so the beer virus hit, and that constricted things. But as they have that kind of coming in, that quieting, that constricting, that silencing of all the noise going around because of what is externally happening, because of the card that was played by the unseen enemy, this particular card of the COVID-19. They actually, it seems for a moment a constriction, but it's actually an expansion, because now there's more stillness, there's more quiet, there's getting off of the whole wagon, the rat race. So their freedom was curtailed, yes, from a linear perspective. But in that linear perspective of the freedoms curtailed, there were two things happening. There was freedom from the inside out, opening and expanding and blossoming. So gardens of heart openings have been unfurling all over the planet, right here within you. And it's an and as that perspective of constriction and limiting their rights and limiting their freedoms, there was an unfurling, an expansion of light, of knowing, of realization, of the dawning of the fact that I have never been free, and the perceived freedoms were just an amalgamation of illusions put forth by the unseen enemy, by the Illuminati, by the false construct, however you want to hold it and label it. And so by that constriction, by taking away your liberties, you saw that you don't like that. You saw that, what it feels like. And then as that light comes forth, as that light of knowing, of knowledge, of information, of internal knowing, external, internal information, all of that, it's both sides, comes forward, then you see that you really never had freedom before, because you now start to see all of the truths of what was encompassed in the quote unquote normal life that you couldn't wait to get back to. And so that is actually revealing that forward, all pushed in a beautifully orchestrated way. Yes, devious and horrific, but pushed in a beautifully orchestrated way by the unseen enemy to force people to see the truth of what's really going on, the truth of what really was encompassed in normal life. And you haven't seen anything yet, because we've barely scratched, barely scratched, just the tippy tiny tip of the iceberg of what you'll see is so, and what has been fully, not only so of what has been done, what was encompassed and has been going on for eons in the normal, but what is so in the much broader context of your consciousness and the truth of who you are. The World Health Organization and the big announcement that President Trump made yesterday of temporarily, make no mistake, it's permanently defunded, and an investigation into that. Again, that's Why now? Well, this is the perfect moment to do that. This is the only moment to do that, because this is when people are now riveted. You know, they're being held captive and realizing that they have been captive on the Persian planet forever. They just didn't realize it. And so that's a big truth to come forward. And look how beautifully all the dots line up. Look how beautifully all the players are playing their roles. Look how seamlessly the head connections of the WHO and and their henchmen, the people who carry the, just happen to be just happen to be on the coronavirus task force, just happen to be leading it, the medical experts. It's not a coincidence. It's divine, delicious, sublimely complex, and really beautifully laid out synchronicities of the right moment, the right time, the right story being unfolding. And the unseen enemy was that which pushed the button, so to say, to force everyone to see the truth. Another one with the limiting, the quieting, the stay at home, all those kinds of orders for many beings. Some beings are working a whole lot because of this, but for many beings all over the planet, countries all over the world, um, that break in routine, that removal of from a work construct, not doing things that you were doing for work in the same way that you have been, not working at all in the same way you have been. Um, all of that again is forcing people to look at what's important to them individually, how this whole thing of, you know, being on the merry-go-round for success, for pushing to have more success or more money or more of those kinds of things, or being on the merry-go-round of just barely getting by, of no matter what you do, it never seems to be enough. No matter how much nose on the grindstone is grinding, there's less nose and no fruits of the labor that are enough to encompass actual life. So I just wanted to bring that forward a bit, to play with, to have you notice and look with fresh eyes and tune your sensory array in a, you know, in a more expansive, more drawing in more data in a way that this is a delicious moment. The unseen enemy has forced everyone to see the truth. And that statement is on a quantum and multidimensional level of all ranges, internally, in your physicality, in your vibrationality, in your small community, in your larger community, in the world community, in subsets of that, in different truth, in all different layers, every system, every structure, every sector of the whole planet. Everything is combined in that. And when you hold it that way, you can feel, you can see, you can notice how that's changing everything, and how each being is a beacon of light and transmission and awareness and revealing, that's just making the picture so clear and so transparent. And even those of us who've been looking at the picture for a while and who know the different pieces, and so many brilliant researchers are researching, you know, this rabbit hole and this one and all these different things, are seeing the extent to each of those so much more than they thought, so many more areas, so much more than they ever conceived possible happening, and the depth and breadth of the truth unfolding as it specifically relates to the magnificence of who you are, the truth of who you are, the scope of the expansiveness that you individually as a being of light and a being of love as source, what you are beginning to comprehend of what that entails is astonishing, simply astonishing. And it will take your breath away. And then you'll have a deep breath and you'll see more and you'll notice more and more will unfold. And yes, everything that I've just talked about, the unseen enemy and the unseen to your linear eyes, is all coming forward and is all presenting itself to you in this amazing, unlimited gift that you will sort and sift through and integrate. And the sky, in the most expansive multiverses in all of sources, energy fields, will become crystal clear to you. And it's a fun ride. So play with it, see what you notice, and stand in the truth of who you are, because you're magnificent and unlimited, and nothing is more powerful than that truth, that expansiveness, that river of love that's within you. Nothing can thwart it. Absolutely nothing. I love you.